Hello. 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 Anyone there? Hello. Hey, Melissa. How are you? 415599. Next. Yay. Save. Account added. My father's iPad Pro that he no longer needs, as he is no longer living. I thought my brother was using it, but it turns out he's using one he got from a friend of his who is no longer living. And my plan is to keep that one here so that I don't have to bring my iPads back and forth with me. So I'm loading it up with the apps I like to use. And that way my traveling back and forth won't be as traumatic, as usually I end up lugging a lot more stuff than I need to lug. Are you still there? Melissa? Melissa may have gone back to sleep. Maybe. Oh. It is going through. I can see what you're saying now. I mean, one of the things I began doing is packing clothing. I mean, rather, leaving clothing here. Underwear and socks and a couple of shirts and a pair of pants and a couple of pair of shoes. So I don't even have to bring a suitcase. So I think that plan might have been slightly thwarted because of the flood. And because my clothes were down there, some of them were sort of 20-year-old clothes anyway, so it's not like I would ever fit in those, but there were some that well, my advice for flying is pack pack for a carry-on because they charge you so much money for a suitcase now that and plan to visit nudist colonies. That would be my other advice. That way you will be fine. That's how it snaps in place. Cool. I finally figured out how this pen works. Well, they might riot. That's very true. God damn it. This cord is useless. It does not stay in. So I'll use this cord. Well, I've drawn lots of naked men, and naked men come in very many different sizes and many different shapes and many different ages and many different everythings. And for every person I have drawn, there are 10 people that find that body type attractive. So anything goes in the world of what people think is nice. This chord is actually the one that this one. It actually looks like it would be good, but it isn't. It works on only one device that I have. It works on my phone, and it works with this thing only one way. So how is your Esterbrook and Eversharp doing today? Or yesterday, since you just got up. You haven't been playing with them, I'm sure. I'm playing with Meredith's pens here, enjoying them to the degree that I can. You know, if someone blindfolded me, I might say, gee, this is a nice 51. Okay. Send me a doodle, and I will tell you what I think. Now, if these pens were in my blindfolded hands and I was writing with them, I might be very happy with them at the moment. But again, how they age this pen in 60 years, we'll see how it's going. Okay, Instagram. Oh, very good. Minimum. When bigger. Easier. And what a lovely little drawing of a typewriter. Oh, that's part of the thing. I'm joking. It's you make an interesting bee. Your bee reminds me of a cootie bug. Your middle loop of a bee is quite large, so it almost looks like the bee has 3 lumps. So it reminds me of the old cootie bug game, toy or whatever it was. Well, you have a very vertical handwriting, which I think is perfectly fine. I don't think you should necessarily change that. It's just going to be a little harder for you to Maybe it'll be easier, actually, come to think of it. It might be easier for you to get the thick and thin lines using a vertical thing because it's vertical handwriting. Your handwriting is very loopy, very rounded. Kind of inflated, like you got a bicycle pump and you pumped up every letter just a little tiny bit, which is neat. And you do like your loops. Like let me explain here. And there's nothing wrong with any of this stuff, by the way. I'm just, how do I turn this around? Back camera. Miss Marilyn's pen. It is not leaking on me this time. First of all, your vertical writing. Now here's the vertical, and here's the slanted. And of course, I'm not using a flexible nib, but if you're holding the pen in this angle, rather than this or like this, the thick line on the downstroke, it's easier to make it happen here than it is here. So vertical is not bad for anyone really, because if you think of this as the thick line, it's easier to make a thick line going in this direction than going in that direction. So oftentimes people that are writing like this, they turn the paper, like that to be able to make that happen. But sometimes it's hard when you're writing in a journal and the seam of the paper is here and there's more paper on this side, and so writing vertically is not bad. Your letters though are very very loopy, like the word bad. You do this and there's the middle loop and here's the bottom, and then you do that. That's your B, the cootie bug B. And then your A, which looks like it continues like this, A, and then D. I mean, that looks like it could almost be read as Bael, B-A-E-L. So these big loops you have here might every once in a while be misread. This could be seen as an E and an I. So this sort of S curve that you normally, or you might make going from one letter to the other, D, this sort of crest, like you're making a wave, that you might make more of that. Try to make more of that. Trying to see how you do your O's here. Hello. I'm thinking of Ms. Marilyn's It looks like one of the things you wrote is one of the words you wrote was the word bird, sort of at the top, and you make your B loop, 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 and then you had an I, and then the R, you make this, there shouldn't be a loop there. There loop there, small loop, and then but no loop at that point. Otherwise, you might accidentally read it as two E's or a U or something. So again, some of the, when you look at a word, a letter, and it might be easily seen as a different letter, then you're sort of shooting yourself in the foot. Yeah, your O's. God, I'm a little bitch, aren't I? Just criticizing. Sorry, I will stop now. But I know it's hard to, I'm sure if you wrote without the pushing and pulling that you're trying to learn how to do, your letters would be more natural and more readable. But because you're so focused on the thick and thin, it's hard to have it be natural when you're writing unnaturally, I guess is the word I'm trying to say. Well, you're made of sterner stuff than some. Some people take criticism poorly, but I didn't think you would. The main thing is, your doodles that you did do, you're clearly getting you're pressing down all correctly at the correct points. I should have mentioned that before. Your downstrokes and your upstrokes are consistently dark and light, shaded or not shaded. So you're pressing down at the right time and lifting up at the right time. The main thing is to lift up a little more. Practice getting the lightest lines you can, and it's really hard when you're writing small, I think. No, I know. I don't expect you're learning to use a flexible nib does require to sort of forget about lots of other things that you normally don't think about, like how big the loops are and things like that. So you're doing very well, I think. So the downs and the ups are differentiated, which is the most important part. Eventually, the downs and ups will be more exaggerated, I guess. One of the things that you might want to try is, if you look at beautiful old signatures of penmen from the olden days, oftentimes all of the small letters, almost every single stroke of a small letter is thin, and only the capital letter has shading on it. And you might try that. That's sort of how I do my calligraphy. I will only see if I can find a pen here that has a flexible nib. This is not working out well, but this isn't flexible enough. But let's say Gustafson, I'll write my last name. G. No, this pen is too broad. Try this one. Yes. Look at that second Gustafson there. So I only press down on the very longest strokes. So the G, the T, and the F are the only ones that I shade. No, I have other ones. I just don't have them here because I've been in this 51 kick. So this paper is very bleedy, so this is not helping any. But if you look at, let me see if I can find let me see if I can find under M.G. Ward, Mr. M.G. Ward, I think maybe that's his name. Mr. Michael G. Ward. Okay, Michael G. Ward is a calligrapher, just a brilliant calligrapher. So in every week, I think he has a signature test where he finds a signature from a 100-year-old, 150-year-old penman, and he asks you to repeat it to learn how to copy it. So here's E.F. Eaton. So there's an E and an F and an E, but really the T, the A is a little, that's one that he's trying to copy. I don't know if he, let's see if I can find, see, this was the original thing he's copying. And these things are really, really fun to do. And I'll forward this to you so you can look at his work. His work is amazing, M.G. Ward. And I look at the way the E is, it's not even the part of the letter, it's just the flourish under the E that he decides to make dark, which is very weird. I mean, the original guy, E.F. Eaton. So, let me just send this. I'm just going to just send you one of these things. Search. So take a look at his work, and you also see movies of him making the letters too. I just sent you one of them at random. But if look at this one right here. See, this is a bunch of words, and only the capital letters really are shaded to a large extent. So you don't have to do every single one. There's another one he did. He does these leather. He inscribes leather books and mouse pads and things like that with gold leaf. Yeah, I mean, here's another one here. I'll send this to you. This might be the best example. But I used to tell people, I said, when I was doing calligraphy, I would write their name. You know, I'd have a big fancy M for Melissa, big M, Elissa, and I said, this is calligraphy, pointing to the M, and then I said, this is just spelling. Now that's not true, but in a way, it kind of is. You know, I want it to be neat and spaced nicely, and I want the letters to look nice. So there's more than just spelling there, but I saved my big guns for the capital letters or the flourishes. I used to describe the kind of lettering where every downstroke is thick. I used to say it's like a John Philip Sousa march, where every, you know, the cymbals are clanging at every beat. And I thought, you know, it just drives you crazy. You don't need to have all of those symbols. Just use them at, you know, once in a while. So occasionally I'm asked to do every downstroke thick, which is fine. I mean, I can do it, but I don't enjoy it. It's way harder for me, and I don't have the ability to continue that flow. Yeah. And again, some people like the Sousa marches. But anyway, look at this guy's work, and I think and he's a master penman. He's just brilliant at what he does, and those signature challenges that he gives you are really kind of fun. It's not easy, you know, because you've been you did a page of lettering where all of them are, but rather than doing a name with a capital letter, maybe just do there's a street in Boston named Commonwealth Avenue, and I would make a big fancy C and then OMMONWEALTH. And I always said this looks like a seismograph with the big event happening at the end with the LTH, because those were all long descenders. All the other letters were tiny ones. So But the word thoughtful, has a lot of nice variation between little letters that aren't shaded and big letters, descenders or ascenders. Minimum is one that's all tiny. So minimum, thoughtful has a variety. Syzygy, Syzygy, has almost all descenders that are shaded. So there's a lot of really fun words to practice with. I find for drawing or writing myself that sort of thick and thin happen automatically. It's like having a sports car, and you can't go fast on the city streets, but if you every once in a while get on a street that has a lot of green stoplights at it, you can start going fast, or a long stretch of straight street where there aren't any intersections at all, you can sort of speed up. But all the rest of the time you have to stay, 30 miles an hour. So you sort of think about that, and then when you do have a chance to accelerate, your hand goes way up and it has to come back down again. Maybe it automatically does that, but I'm getting my metaphors all mixed here. I'm going to get more coffee. And see if I can get out of I feel like I'm in a pilot seat of a 747. I sort of crawl in and out of the chair here. Right beside you. In the future. Melissa, if you'd like to join me and show me what you're doing, you may. I'll just copy. But don't feel you need to. You're not obligated to, of course. Oh, sorry. Didn't see you. Add to stream. Hello.
Hello. My messy countertop here.
Okay. That's perfectly fine. You're using Eversharp?
I am.
Okay. Well, see if you could point the back of the pen closer to your shoulder. I think, again, that's or maybe rotating the paper too a little bit at an angle. That makes it easier for you to get the thick lines. But again, the thick lines.
Oh, not like that. Let's adjust this here a little bit. Yeah. I try to write with my arm, not just my hand.
Yeah,
And
good.
it's a little different because I'm so used to just making minute movements right here instead of right here.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So,
Writing with your arm is an important part of learning how to keep everything flowing. It also is easy. It's a little easier to keep the letters all parallel because your whole arm is moving rather than just the fingers.
Then just this.
Yeah, because they'll start falling down. Because you're. But already those lines seem to be thinner. But again, you're only writing the little letters.
Yeah.
So try, and again, this is going to be tough.
Okay.
Try, but you're up to it. Try to do the word thoughtful So the T and the G, H, T, and L will be shaded, but the rest of it will be, light.
All right, let's try. Let's try not to run it down. There we go.
And see if you could maybe make it twice as big,
All right, let's try this.
because I think that gives you room to speed up and to slow down. So,
Ooh, it gets a little loopy at the end there.
yeah.
Let's try to do bigger here.
Yeah.
It's definitely a process. Like you realize how much you don't write. I don't want to say correctly. I want to say with a purposeful downstroke, you just kind of muddle all the letters at one pressure.
Yeah. I mean, that's again the tough part. So if you were to um, take the example, what's really nice about MG Ward's signature uh, copying that he likes people to do, and sorry, Marilyn has done them a couple of times, I've noticed, is to because these are signatures, and we're copying someone else's design.
Oops.
Yes,
Right.
the thicks and thins don't always, and the flourishes are all a little different. So
Mhm.
you're what you're doing, you're learning how to not so much make a capital E. You're learning how to just learning how to apply that pressure just on that one part of this complicated curve. And it's sort of, you have to just look at these things as not being letters, but just being practice um, strokes, practice flourishes, I think. So you might,
Yeah, see, they do something like I don't even know if I can do it. Let's try like a T, like all right, thoughtful.
yeah,
They might go like something like that, or they might have like a little
yeah.
something like that.
So to practice flourishes, it's mainly, what's really fun about that is you you're not spelling, you're not making uh, you're not trying to be legible, you're just trying to be beautiful. So and by doing it, you'll sort of learn what sort of curves are make you smile, and so it's really fun.
Yeah, let's like I
Page full
can't page full of just flourishes. Like I don't
of
even like people go like that, or sometimes they're like,
well, here's a really fun example. Let's see if I can do it here. Um, Let me turn this around. Something that I like to do as a way of, can you still hear me? Oh, where did you go? Hello? Oh, there you are. Hi.
yeah, I don't know what the heck's going on now.
One of the things that I enjoy doing with flourishes is, what I do is say, and this is sort of tough, but let's say I start making a letter and then I change my mind, which is really tough. Here's an M. I'm starting to make an M, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look like that. But then I change it into an F, a lowercase f. So or whatever. I pick one thing and then I switch my mind and I do something else. And what I'm doing is just coming up with an abstract shape. that I can just draw on top of, just to get my whole arm moving. And this is 6 inches long, 8 inches
Right,
long.
that's a
So,
big, yeah.
but if you do that, take a whole page and just come up with a design that sort of has big swoopy lines and little sort of corners, and just
Sure.
trace over it, as many times and as quickly as you possibly can. It will give you exercise in your hand and your whole arm. So, but I think, um, when you go to Target and buy one of those art books,
Hmm.
or sketchbooks, I think that'll free you, because you won't be, the size will be a little bit bigger than you normally use. You'll feel less constrained, and you can take your sports car out on the highway,
Right.
but then going up and down the driveway like this. Yeah. So, and then there's a friend of mine, Ted Clausen, who loves the same sort of lettering that I like, and he's really good at this. But he loves making complicated curves where he'll stop and then pick it up and go somewhere else. So these sharp angles that he has in his
Hmm.
flourishes, where I don't generally do that. My flourishes are more straight, but his can go all over the place, which is really fun. I just don't normally do that. But the nice thing about those signatures with that MG Ward does is, like, that E, went like this. There's the E, and then the flourish was down here. This was the big shaded part.
Right.
Normally you would shade maybe this one and have this one be thin. But whoever this guy was, E.F. Hutton or whatever, Easton, he shaded the last stroke. And so that's really kind of what's fun about copying those things.
Right. Yeah, like I would not ever by any stretch of the means call myself an artist.
Yeah.
I can copy things, but my brain is logic driven, so it's kind of hard to get these artistic flourishes out to the
Yeah.
hand, but I'll practice it. I'll keep trying.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it would be fun to it's just as an exercise to get your hand moving. Even
Right.
if you don't, um, even if the thing you're copying, try to make the thing you're copying sort of as open and graceful as you can, and you'll as you copy over it and do it, over and over and over again, your hand will eventually memorize that shape, and you'll have fun just moving your arm, in that. It's like learning a dance step or something, and so, but I think doing it really, really big, filling up an entire page, you're going to go through gallons of ink, but so what? you know
Right. Yeah, it's meant to be used.
or even you can practice that even with a pencil. You don't have to. It's mainly just exercise for your arm and your and your hand than anything else. So I'm going to move back to my front camera here. Um,
Yeah, I like these much better than I like that because I feel like I'm struggling right now.
yeah. Well, again, it's not meant to. You're not writing directions on how to launch the missiles to attack Moscow. You're just scribbling, but it's scribbling.
Right.
It's scribbling with a purpose, and um, and I think that would be a good thing to do. Maybe at the beginning before you write any word. It's like doing your scales if you're singing. You're just moving your whole arm around and doing this, and then you try to remember that sort of full freedom when you start doing the lettering, which is tough because your left brain takes over from your right brain, or vice versa, and you're spelling and doing all that kind of stuff instead. But
Right. Yeah, and I'm super not great at spelling. Spell check is my huge friend.
I noticed you added an extra L, thoughtful.
I might have.
Yeah, that's okay. No, spelling is, I'm not good at it either. But it's
Cute.
just, oh, there's the kitty.
Yeah, he gets jealous when I'm up here doing, like, he just has to be part of whatever I'm doing. He's so into stuff.
My old cat used to love sitting on my desk when I was doing calligraphy or drawing or making videos for YouTube. He would just lay down and take a nap, but always next to me. My new cat doesn't like getting on a table or a
Really?
a cat that likes being on the ground or on a chair, but doesn't really like high places. So,
As you can see, he's a pain in the butt.
well, I can see, but he's a cute,
He is.
pain in the.
That's the only thing that saves him. He's so cute. Okay, come on, buddy. Come on. Come on. There you
Um,
Yeah, he can't stand to not be part of it. Whatever it is, cooking, me writing, it just doesn't matter. He's got to be part of it. All right, dude. Come on. Get away from my pen. I mean, I could always try to write left-handed, cat.
Writing left-handed is not a bad thing to try to do, but I wouldn't recommend doing it for long.
No, it definitely hurts your brain.
So there's a left-handed calligrapher I know that in Boston, and he's able to write with both hands at the same time, and he does mirror images. He'll just draw the same thing with both hands, like
Wow.
really beautiful to see him do it. And I was able to do it once. And then, but my brain, whatever fuse was in my brain, burst and burned out, so I can't do it anymore. I mean,
It happens.
probably could learn to practice doing it, but I can't. I can flourish that way because, again, I'm not thinking of the lettering. It's very interesting what our brain does. There was a lefty pen collector friend of mine who wrote with a hook, and he would come over, once every month or 2 weeks, and we'd have lunch together, and we'd talk about pens, of course, and then we'd talk about other things. And he suddenly got interested in bicycles. So he was explaining to me how this new bicycle that he bought worked. And so he got a piece of paper out, turned the paper over that we were writing on, and he started drawing a picture of this bicycle. And he was drawing with his left hand, but he wasn't drawing with a hook. He was drawing like this,
Right.
and I said, John, look at what you're doing. He said, what am I doing? I said, you're drawing without a hook. And he said, huh, never noticed that. And I said, okay, now on the same drawing, just label the word brakes, put a little arrow showing me where the brakes are, and write the word brakes. And he had to do this when he was writing. His brain wouldn't allow him to hold that way anymore. It had to go this way. And I think, again, our brain, our two halves of the brain, the art half and the word half and the math half and the whatever half, they do trump the any desires we might have to do the other thing. So
It's true. You're meeting in the middle. Like you're trying to do art, but you're also trying to write and spell correctly. So your brain's like, I don't know which side of me you want to use right now, but we're gonna try this.
yeah. Jake Weidman is a great calligrapher. I'm looking at the Como, and he's brilliant. He does everything really well, and of course I hate him. And they're tour de forces of letter design, and I mean he's right out of 1880, his aesthetic, and it's amazing what he does, and I hate him. No, I don't. He just I'll send you a link to his stuff too.
All
uh,
right.
Jake Weidman. um, and, um, I trying to think of what I don't like about him, and without sounding catty, you know, uh, there are some people who are just too good at what they do, and it just looks like a human didn't create it. It was done by a very smart robot or machine, and uh, like for example, one of the things that Jake Weidman did was he had a moose antler, and he carved it into this beautiful scroll, and he showed samples of it going from the moose, the dead moose, now the moose without anything done, and then it showed him carving it until it got into something that was almost completely removed from the moose, and he had stopped halfway through because there were still elements that were partially carved, and there were that were very beautifully finished, and there were some that had the moose hair on it or something. And there was something about the middle part before it became too perfect that I thought was better. And some people who finish things too perfectly, there's a point at which it becomes cold to me, and I can't approach it. I can't be part of it. And so I very much prefer to look at sketches of that artists later paint. The sketches seem to me to say more about the intention of the artist piece. So there's something about Jake Weidman's finished pieces that make me afraid to get close to them. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like, I don't like Hopper because it's the cleanest lines and they're very exact and it's shaded just right. I like Hopper because the overall feel of it is very well, it's lonely. Let's be honest. It's a very lonely feeling when you look at Hopper's work. But the colors and the shading are not perfect, and that's what I like about it.
Yeah, I mean, Hopper's a good example. There's a certain, it's almost like, I like to think of Hopper's painting. Hopper's paintings remind me of, if Martians landed on Earth and took pictures and back to Mars to create a little diorama of an Earth, an American small town, but they made it all out of cement. you know,
Oh,
they're very heavy. His figures look like they weigh 10 times more than they do, and there's a real heaviness to his structure, and there's also no air. There's no atmospheric perspective in his pictures. It's almost like he took all of the air out of the thing. So they're very creepy and lonely and kind of sad, his pictures, but I love them too. But I think part of it is because of the sort of where he doesn't model and shade as perfectly as he might. He says, I'm done now. I don't need to do more than this. So,
Whereas I, as a perfectionist, would be like, I got to get this just right.
yeah. Well, that's, thankfully, see, Jake Weidman is a perfectionist, and he does get things just exactly right. And it, again, they seem just a little tiny bit too perfect. And of course, it's envy and jealousy and everything else coming out of me that says that. But um, I just find that it's a little tiny bit. It's like pushing me back. Don't get close to me. Don't. It's like a Fabergé egg. It's just so delicate looking, and so like I can't even breathe on it because it's gonna break. But I love Fabergé eggs too. So it's just very interesting. And I don't mean to pick on poor Jake, um, but uh, again, they're just a little too polished for me to get cozy with them, I guess.
Well, it's very true that, art is not about the details all the time. It's definitely about the overall feeling of what you're getting when you look at whatever the piece is.
Yeah. Let me see if I can. I'll send you a picture of his. Um, let me just invited you. Um, let me find Jake here. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Let me find a Jake Weidman here. Okay, Melissa, you're gonna go crazy when you see this. It's great, but oh, you're there. You're still there.
Yeah, no, it's my phone's just being real weird. It just keeps
Yeah.
dropping this app for some reason.
Okay. I just sent you a drawing he did of a tree, and below the tree, what looks like a hedge. And you look at, he does jewelry, he does carving, he carves antlers, he does all sorts of stuff. He's amazing.
One of those wealth of talent situations, I think.
He's like Paganini, the violinist Paganini was. People thought he sold his soul to the devil to be able to play that well. And how can this?
It's like that old who was it, Robert Johnson, who they say sold his soul to the devil at the crossroads to play blues that well.
Yeah. it's practice, 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 and genius and everything else. And I have a feeling that Jake is someone who has that genius where he knows exactly what kind of font style and lettering style is going to go in this thing. Now maybe he does 5,000 drawings before he comes up with the actual composition that he's going to end up using. And he does. I wish he would show it, just because I find the sketches on napkins show I could write with this kind of lettering or this kind, and I chose this because of this. But you don't see that in the thing he posts, really. You see him start with a blank piece of paper and pencil it in, but you don't see the decisions he's making about why he's putting it using this font, which I think would be oh, sorry, Friedrich.
Ran out of ink.
You're out of ink. How's that possible?
I just meant I had to refill my pen. Not I ran out of ink. Like I have too much ink for that. I just meant the pen was like,
Well,
hey, you need to fill me if you want to use me.
Yeah.
Flourishes are a art, I must say.
What it flourishes?
They are definitely an art.
Well, it's where we collectors earn our dollars.
I can see that. I can definitely see that. Every flourish is $5. It's the new rule.
I wanted to do a little page on my website where I would have a add to shop cart thing, and I'd have a straight line free, a curved line was 10 cents, a double curve, an S-shaped line was 25 cents, and people could add up how many parts they needed to make me do their name. And but I just thought that was sort of cute. Someone said it looked like an anus. Well, that's one way.
That is definitely one way to think about it.
That's one way. Thankfully, that's only one way.
It's going to live rent free in my head for a little while.
Yeah.
It's the only flourish we got so far. A little swirly. I'm not even doing it on a right letter. It's an A.
Okay.
Let's try I don't know where I would flourish that. I guess maybe here. I don't know. Flourishing is definitely an art. I must hand it to you. Your handwriting is excellent. I'm going to just keep practicing, I think.
Okay. Well, try my. What I'm going to do, Melissa, I'm going to do a couple of flourishes and then have you copy them
Okay.
for me. And I'm going to maybe do 3. And what I want you to do is take an entire page and just make them fill up the whole, divide the page into 3, sections. And then the top one will be a simple flourish, like a overturned figure 8,
All
and
right.
the second one might be something slightly more complicated with maybe a sharp edge in it, sharp point. And then the last one will be a little bit more complicated. But I'm not going to do it now.
All right. I was gonna
But
say, let's try the. I like your figure 8. Let's see. Figure 8 is this. So maybe if I turn it on my side.
do it horizontally. Rotate the paper. Okay. And make it go from one side to the other. Take up the whole page. Go. Good.
All
And
right.
just keep going over that line and maybe make it a little bit wider. And good. See that? Good. I mean, I think that's a really good exercise.
That is a good one.
And you can see, I can see, I don't know if this is something that you're noticing, but I can see when you go from the bottom right to the upper left, it's very fine. The line is very fine from the bottom right to the upper left. From there to there, it's very fine. And then it gets thick, and then it gets fine again, then it gets thick. So automatically, I don't know if you're thinking about pressing down, but automatically you're getting a range. Is that true or not? You're
Yeah, I had to look at it for a second and redo it to trace a line. But yeah, no, I am kind of doing it. That's kind of amazing.
yeah, it's automatic. And part of it is because it's big. And again, that's a really good way to learn to get your hand just moving in the right way. And it doesn't work for me, when I go tiny. I have to be big. So you're thinking a little bit too much maybe now. Just again, don't think about it. Just follow the lines. Pretend you're the Tommy the train engine, and you're on your HO train track going around and around and around. Okay, you're soon going to go dig right through the paper and ruin your.
Yep. Ruin this nice fine pen. Let's try down here.
So yeah, you can just do that. Now try to do it. Try to the new one. Well, too late now. I try to do it twice as long and half as high. Now just do it over the one you just started. It's fine.
All right, let's see. Twice as long. So let's start down here.
So almost all the way to the end. Yep, good. And half as high. So start making it narrower.
All right, let's see. Twice as long and half as high.
Yeah, good. See, you're okay. I mean, it's fine doing. You're still a little bit. Think of drawing a propeller on an airplane. So there's, again, these are exercises that will help your left prop is good. Your right prop is a little
wonky.
It's a little wonky. You're not going to fly. You're not going to get off the ground, Wilbur, using that one.
This one's a little long. This one's a little more concise. This one's going to flap us into the wind.
Mm-hmm. But these, These little exercises are really, really good, I think.
Yeah, that really moves
Arm.
your whole arm instead of just me doing that. I mean, no, these are really helpful. Like, yes, please criticize me because I, one for one, can take it, and two, I'm never going to get better if you just coddle me and say I'm doing a good job.
Okay. Well, I'd rather come up with exercises that I think would help you learn how the pen works. I'm not really trying to teach you how to write.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to do is teach you be able to make your hand feel that you and the pen, joining better. So
Mm-hmm.
it's and bonding with the pen, I guess. I know that whenever I go from a flourish back to an actual word, it's like the brakes are slammed shut. The airbag goes off, and I'm back at zero again because I've lost all of the freedom I had earlier. So um,
Let's see. Let's try down here. Let's try longer. Propeller, be even.
yep, that's better. I'm What's happening though, the difference, I don't see the
Line differentiation.
hmm, yeah,
Yeah.
and and it's probably because you're also doing it backwards there. I
Am
mean,
I going back?
you were doing it the other way before.
I can't pick as I can't pick a figure eight, I guess.
Okay, well, anyway, which is fine. You don't have to. You could. Um,
Yeah, I don't. Repetition is going to be my friend. Let's try. No, I forgot how to do it.
yeah, okay. That I see that happening more there.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm consciously thinking about it a little more than letting my hand do what it wants, which is a lot different than what I should be. Oh, this pen is just excellent though. I can't rave about it enough.
Oh, good. Look at
Like,
what Frank is telling you too in the chat.
okay, I closed out of Facebook, or I closed out of
Okay,
YouTube so I wouldn't get the echo.
he's saying you might find it easier and to catch your hand less if you're rested on the flat of your pinky nail on the table. I don't quite. The nail is smoother and less likely to snag.
Like that. Maybe is that what he's talking about? Like kind of like.
Yeah, I use my pinky quite often to help keep my hand the same distance from the paper,
Oh,
and it's just a really nice way to. It's like a training wheel on your bicycle. It sort of keeps you upright or whatever. Um,
that is definitely different, but I can feel how you can guide yourself with your pinky if I could just find a good purchase spot here. See, I curl it up. I see what I'm doing. I curl it up into my hand. I don't hold it out. It's like
Well,
curl it up into that.
yeah, it may, again, it's something that you may learn to do. Um, and once you do it, it'll come as second nature. Um, any little tricks that we offer or that you discover may work for you or us, but not necessarily guaranteed. Um,
Right.
these are all things that we've found that work for us. So,
Right, and I appreciate that. And I don't need to reinvent the wheel. If you guys are already riding bicycles, you can tell me how to do it and I'll follow along. I don't need to reinvent anything.
yeah, um, and I do it. I because I write in so many different kinds of handwriting, and sometimes I'm drawing. I never do that when I'm drawing. I think I hold the pen very differently when I'm drawing than when I'm doing calligraphy. But I think because of calligraphy, the shapes are all relatively variations of the same kind of oval, I guess. So anything that helps me keep my
Hmm.
more um, standardized will help me with that. When I'm drawing, though, I I don't even know if I pay attention to what my pinky is doing. And I'm pushing the pen when I should be pulling it, and I'm pressing down when I go up strokes, on, and I'm cross hatching in all sorts of different directions. So drawing completely screws up. Well, I don't follow that system when I'm drawing, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Right. I don't think I would write necessarily if I was just writing my in my journal or whatever with my pinky out because it doesn't I'm manipulating the pen more, I guess I would say. But that really like I can feel like a stable base, I guess I would say, when I have my pinky out, like a stable, it's kind of like I'm drawing with my pinky and the pen is just there.
Yeah.
It's a very fun shape.
Well, I'll come up with a couple of other uh, samples. Maybe I'll make a solo video of it, um, if I get my head wrapped around what I work.
Oh
And
yeah.
might have a video up there already about flourishes, that I did years ago, but I don't know that for a fact. For a fact.
No, I must say this is obviously not a flex nib, but I like the size a little bit to just see. But this pen right here is phenomenal.
Okay.
Phenomenal little package, phenomenal little pen.
Oh,
I
good.
am in love with it.
Oh, good. Frederick,
Um,
this is the black Eversharp that I sent her, um, because she had said that in a bag of pen nibs she bought, there were 2 Esterbrook nibs. And I said, well, I've got an Esterbrook that I can send you. So she loves the width of the slender Esterbrook.
yeah, it's just such a dynamite little pen.
And
It's light. It works real well. It works real well for my handwriting, even though I write very small.
let me just,
Oh, excuse me. But I must say, I'm definitely not a fan of fine nibs. I don't think.
Okay. Because they're too scratchy.
N- Um, no, it's not really the scratch. I guess, yeah, I guess it is the scratchy because this seems to like flow, just flows right across the paper. It lays down a nice amount of ink, doesn't
Mhm.
oversaturate. When I get the fine, it feels like I'm spending too much time on my letters to make sure enough ink comes out for me to read it. I guess I would say. But
Mhm.
this nib is the medium one. It's the 22668,
Yeah.
and it's just perfect.
Good. Um, well, what I'll do when I get back to Boston, I may have a couple of other nibs that are very smooth, but fine, because again, the fineness is the scratchy for you. And
Hmm.
I think um, if you want a flexible nib to continue to play with and to write with, the fine is the way. A You need to get both broader and more flexible, but it has to be finer to start with. But they're always going to be scratchy. So I think, or scratchier feeling. So,
Right.
uh, um, but I I'll see what I have. I'm sure that Frederick too has a lot of Esterbrook nibs.
Did he take
That
them all out of the boxes too?
I don't know whether he took them all out.
Yeah, no, I mean, if I bought this pen back whenever it was made out of 1940, I would have been super happy to have spent my $1.25 or 50 cents or whatever on it.
Yeah.
I, in fact, probably would have had just a bunch of them. I mean, they're just dynamite little pens, light, lever fill, nice nibs. I'm very impressed. I mean, I could even get it a little longer if I posted my cap. I don't know why I don't post my caps. I just never, it's when I start writing this, the web, as Miss Marilyn Darling told us, was not the crook of our hand, pushes the cap up and like makes it fall off. So,
Yeah, no, that does with some pens with me too. And um, posting doesn't always work. Um, in my hand. If the cap is particularly loose, um, and sometimes it's loose because of wear, or it might not be the original cap with the pen. It's just a slightly lathed slightly differently, so it doesn't really stick well. And I find that sometimes the cap will fall off on me, which I don't like.
yeah, I definitely don't like that.
But what I don't specifically like is when the cap is specifically fatter than the barrel, and that little joint between them falls right in that web part.
Oh, yeah, I don't like that. Like, that's my problem with a lot of modern pens is that they seem to think that if the pen is one uniform size, it's defective.
Yeah, yeah. And I have that same problem at the section too. The section, if there's a cliff between the barrel and
Yes. Like this, you can definitely, there's no, like, yes, you have the threads for your cap or whatever, but this doesn't jog down significantly so much that you can see the variation in pen width, like tiny little stick on the end and then a big fat barrel.
yeah, I think that's that's true. Um, but I think if I find a few more Esterbrook nibs that have a slightly different uh, point than what you have, I'll send them to you, and um, I think you might enjoy the variety. I may also see if I don't have that many Esterbrook for sale though that are complete, but uh, so I may. I wonder whether you would like a desk pen.
You're talking about one that like sits in a
Yeah,
little holder right here, and then you just plop it out, pull it out.
yeah.
I don't know. I can honestly say I have no idea.
I do have. I think I have an Esterbrook desk pen. That some Esterbrook desk pens were dip pens, and
Okay.
the holder actually held the ink, and you take it out and you write with it, and you can write for probably an entire page
Oh
on it,
wow.
and um, you dip it again and write for another page, maybe not quite a page, a half a page, and but they also made some that had levers in them and sacks, but they didn't have a cap. You put
Right.
the thing in the socket, and it would presumably be airtight enough not to dry out. But the idea of it being long, without having a cap on it, without, I think you might really.
Right.
Um, I'm trying to think. Frederick might know this. Frederick, did they make any Esterbrook disc pens that were the thin size, or were they all the fatter size? He has some empty boxes he can send you, Melissa, if you really want to.
He's hilarious. I'm really enjoying our conversations.
Yeah, Frederick, you want to join us? You can
He can mock me in person.
you can mock me in real time.
Right.
The dipless are the thin size. So the dipless are the ones that are the dipless are the ones that fit in the flat inkwells.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. I'm asking Frederick.
Okay. I was just trying to follow along. Let's
Yeah.
see.
The weird thing about the flat inkwell ones, it's the the cover is almost the same size as um, the base. It's very shallow, and
Okay.
you to fill it, you have to sort of pry open, like you're prying open a lid on a can of paint, and
Oh.
um, it's. I think if you find an old one that had ink in it, you might end up. Um, Frederick is here now. So Frederick, the dipless ones are the flat inkwell, right?
Yes. Yes, they are.
And to fill those, it's like opening a can of paint with a screwdriver, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and I always feel like I'm going to break something. I do
Yeah.
that, and you often do because they're glued shut with
With
Ink.
1952. So you have to soak it in water first, but then the cork goes away, so you're screwed. No,
but I've had luck with when the cork goes away. If you go to the auto parts store and you get gasket material that they
sure.
sell in a sheet, I just get an X-Acto knife and cut a new gasket for them.
Oh,
It works better than the cork.
you are more handy than I am. Um, did you enjoy watching Green Acres?
Yes. Yes.
There's the scene where Oliver's tractor or something breaks, and he can't. Uh, he needs a new gasket, and Lisa Douglas's Huts Cakes thing. She made hotcakes, 8 little hotcakes, and the part that was still in the can had all these perfectly 8 a pole thing. So they took that out and they put it in the tractor, and it worked fine.
Yeah.
You can also make gaskets out of Lisa Douglas's hot cake recipe. But so honestly, Melissa, I'm not entirely worried that the standard size Esterbrook is going to be a problem for you. But I think you'd really like to have an Esterbrook desk pen, because they're perfect, or any desk pen for that matter. They're perfect for your non-posting
Habits.
habits, and they're great if you work at a desk. If you go outside to write your letters under the chestnut tree, you're screwed. But if you're at home, desk pens are really fun. They're usually many of them are built where you don't have threads on them at all, so it's just one smooth taper.
Oh, that's nice.
And some do, the Parker dual-fold desk pens they're just the regular pocket pen with a thing on the back, taper on the back, so you have the threads there. But I think Schaefer pens, Esterbrook. Do Esterbrook pens have the threads?
No.
No. They don't?
No.
Okay, they're not in front of me, so I can't.
Yeah, Walls and Eversharps, no, those are both smooth. The only Schaefer ones that have the threads are the Triumph desk pens. Those screw in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I used to keep desk pens on my nightstand. I mean, that even journaling in my bedroom, it was more comfortable for long writing sessions for me to just use a desk pen sometimes than use just a regular pen.
Yeah. When you write your dream that you just woke up from, the uncapping the pen, you lost it already. It has to.
That's right. It had to be quick. Yeah.
But, I think that you might get a kick out of that. But what I can do, Melissa, I know I have a kind of beat up, but enough for you to test out whether you like it. Standard sized, not the thin size, but the standard size Esterbrook. And again, if you really love the way they write and you like the fact that they have all these different kinds of nibs, they're a perfectly great pen to collect, because there's a lot of variety. But the nice thing is all of the nibs are interchangeable.
Yes.
So, and they're relatively, because they're non-steel nibbed, the common kinds are relatively inexpensive. The only relatively, because there are Esterbrook collectors out there, and they're really good pens. So you're not going to get them at a pen show. You're not going to get them really cheap like you did.
Right.
But you will. There was someone, I don't know what you value Esterbrook's at, Frederick, but I was trying to show Melissa all the different colors they had, and someone on Etsy or somewhere or maybe it was eBay, they had all the different colors you could choose, and they were $55 each, which is entirely understandable why they're that much. But I think $35 is better.
I would agree with you, but given how much the market has climbed as of late, it doesn't. The new price doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Well, I sold Melissa that one for $25, the one that I sent her.
I used to sell mine, depending on condition, between 15 and 30. I mean, and the 30, when I was selling for 30, that was like the Mexican icicle models or things like that.
And that was when? How many years ago?
I don't know, about 10, 15. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the pens, when I sold Estabrooks generally to the public a long time ago, it was $10 for the black and 15 or 20 for the color ones, and maybe 25 for the pastels. And I didn't care whether they were thick or thin, or whether the old model that had the two little cutouts in the clip. They all were two prices.
Right.
They were black or other,
Yeah.
but now when I go to a pen show and I see an entire table and the collector dealer is selling only Estabrooks, well, I know that they know which one is more valuable than the other, because that's all they specialize in. So I know that when I point, my eye hits the prettiest one, or the one I've never seen before, I know that that's going to be a couple $100 probably.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I saw a yellow cracked ice one that I hadn't seen before, and at one of those Esterbrook collectors tables, and I slowly sauntered up there, knowing I was going to get the surprise of my life, and boy, did I! Because
what was the number?
$750, and I went,
Oh my gosh!
For an Esterbrook, and I was like, wow.
I have funny. You remember Dick Johnson?
Oh God!
He was from your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Dick Johnson was a gentleman farmer who looked right out of Hollywood cast for a gentleman farmer.
Yes.
He just looked the part, but he had this magnificent collection of fountain pens, especially Conklin. He loved. Anyway, we were at a pen show in Philadelphia, and there was a clear Esterbrook demonstrator that came up on the chopping block, the auction block, and we're all sitting around. I'm sitting next to Jonathan Steinberg and Rob Morrison, and we're watching the price of this pen go up and up and up. And Dick Johnson was one of the bidders, and of course, someone else. If Dick Johnson, it's like, what's the name of that stockbroker? If someone says something, everyone listens. Well,
Yeah. Buffett, yeah. Warren Buffett, yeah.
If Dick Johnson is bidding on something, it has to be good.
Right.
And this other person, who's kind of a jerk, was bidding against him, thinking that maybe if he gets it, he can trade Dick Johnson for something he really wants, or whatever.
Right.
Whatever the reason was, I don't know why, but he was bidding, and it was going up and up and up and up and up. And Jonathan Steinberg said, "For an Esterbrook?" Like, he was dumbfounded. I was scratching my head wondering what the fuck is going on. It finally sold for like $150. And I went over to Dick Johnson afterwards and I said, "Dick, why did you pay so much for that pen?" And he said, he sounded like a farmer too, most of the time. He said, "Well, I got two of those at home already, and now they're worth $150 a piece." he just made all of his entire collection worth a lot more than it was 10 minutes earlier. So
yeah, he proved the value. It had a published auction value.
anyway, there's all sorts of craziness that can happen with people and how they value pens. And the guy with the yellow cracked ice thing, which I think I know what pen you mean, because I think I have a cap for one of those, or maybe I don't have a cap anymore, but it's the one that looks like cellophane all crumpled.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I excuse me, I know that there are Esterbrook people out there that would really, really love the rare ones, and So anyway, I think the price of $55 is perfectly fair for a working pen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's an Esterbrook. At one point I just was tired of trying to match up barrels and caps and the little tassies that were chipped. How do I sell this pen and whatever. I just ended up selling all of the parts to Susan Worth, I think, and all the parts I had. And then I think, then in the course of a few years after she bought that pile, I ended up with a bunch more because they always show up in lots. And then I think I sold a lot of the parts to Nicola Pang. So, but I really love them. I wish I had them now.
They are truly, I think, out of all the vintage pens, I could honestly say if I had to choose one pen that I could say for somebody that's brand new into vintage pens,
Yeah.
as a workhorse pen for them,
Yeah.
an Esterbrook is pretty bomb-proof and workhorse.
Yeah. Yeah. Their plastics were great. You rarely find one that has a crack in the cap lip or barrel. You rarely find the lever missing. I don't know. They really made them well, and even the sacks work. If you find an old one, the sacks
Yeah.
still.
Yeah.
So, like the sack that you have on that pen, Melissa, is the original one. I didn't.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I didn't take it apart to replace it because I didn't have the sacks here to replace it. But also, I know generally that they are pretty good. And it seemed like all of the pens I got from this woman, she were unused. I think I should have actually sent you the. I should have sent you the directive that came with that pen.
I'm sure it'll be the first of many packages we send back and forth. So if you slip that in, I wouldn't be hurt.
Yeah. To fill the pencil. This one doesn't have the. So how much were Esterbrook pens when they were brand new, Frederick?
Well, they were $1.75.
Okay.
And then the points started out as $1, and then they were $1.25.
Okay, for any point or just
for the 1000 series they were $1.
Okay.
For the 2000 series they were $1.25.
Okay.
And for the 9000 series nibs they were $2 because that had the iridium.
Iridium on the end, yeah. The 1000 nibs are just awful.
They're horrid, yeah.
And there is the ball just stamped as part of the actual thing, or was
no? That's on the 2000 that they actually added the ball. The 1000 has no tipping whatsoever. It's just
a point.
It's just a point. Yeah.
Well, let's go. Yeah, I'm gonna go grab one to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. So the 2000 they added a ball, added iridium.
Yeah. Well, and the 3000 points, which were during World War II era, also have iridium. So if you got a 3000 series or a 9000 series nib, you're fine. You got iridium.
Now, did they have any other, like a 4 or 5 or 6000 or not?
4000 series can be found in special desk pins from certain, but they're limited to 4 sizes. So
I see, this is why you need to talk to experts, Melissa, because
exactly.
Have you, Frederick, have you watched? I keep on saying Frederick when it's Friedrich, but anyway,
it's interchangeable. I know the English version, yeah.
Yeah, but there's a guy on YouTube has Esterbrook University. Have you watched his things at all?
Yes, Alan.
Yeah, I know his name, but I just And he describes, the variation, different models and stuff, which is interesting. And again, Esterbrook's they're a
Ye-
great pen to collect because you never get done, because there's always that yellow cracked
There's
ice.
always that yellow cracked ice that you go, do I really want to spend $700 and some on a fucking Esterbrook? Yeah.
But you could do you for a pen to enjoy collecting, like a quote real collection, trying to get all of the models of a particular pen. I think Esterbrook's are as good as any, because it's almost all possible to get those.
Yes.
Because there's so many of them, I think, that were made. You might in your lifetime be able to get all of them, whereas you can't get all of the Schaefers or all of the Parkers that were ever made. But Esterbrook's, I think, are okay for that.
Especially if you limit yourself and go, okay, I'm just going to get the Esterbrook's that were made in the United States.
Okay.
Or I'm just going to get the Esterbrook's that were made in Mexico. Or just the Esterbrook's that were made in the UK.
Yeah.
Because, of course, Mexico turned out their own variations and
Okay.
different color patterns, and so did the UK.
Okay. Well, see, this is something
In fact, the UK made button-filling Esterbrook's with their own marbled plastics, as opposed to using the same plastics that the US did. So there's a whole bunch of variation there.
Well, I thought I had found my Grail pen in the Parker pens, but these Easterbrooks are I love a workhorse pen because I'm not going to put it on a shelf and leave it alone and not use it. I want to use it. I want it to stand up. I want it to work.
Okay.
Well, that's why I still use them. I mean, despite having a lot of pens and a lot of choices, somebody go, well, why would you? And when you want to grab a pen that you're not worried about losing, or you won't cry your eyes out losing if you take it to the grocery store or out to a park or whatever with you, you could put that Esterbrook in your pocket or whatever, and you could take it with you and you won't be sorry.
No, and I think that like what I really enjoy is that I am not taking out a $700 pen into the wild.
Right. And you're
But
more apt to use it then,
right.
when you get into those ridiculous amounts of money, I don't care who you are, unless, well, there's some strange people in our collecting communities, but most people become very apprehensive about using the pen. Then it becomes one of those, well, I'll sit down and only use this at my desk in a controlled environment when the heat's right, or the sun's only on the south end of the building, or there's a full moon, or what have you, or or then they become afraid of what ink it might drink, or what paper it might touch, or so on and so forth. And then eventually they look back upon it and it's sat in some glass case for 15 years and they haven't touched it.
I could never, I appreciate the people that do that and have that strength to not touch their pens and leave them alone. But for $700, I'm using the thing and it's getting its work out.
Well,
good for you.
Good for you, because Pierre and I annoy the shit out of a lot of collector people by using the damn things. I'll take vintage pens that are like brand new with the sticker still on it and the size tag still on it, 80, 85 years old, and I'll take the tags off, dip them in ink, use them. I have many enemies because of that.
Yeah, we should do that together. Just have the spotlight on us at a pen show, and bring your mint in the box pens and we'll fix them for you.
Yes.
We will appraise your mint in the box pens. Bring them up to the table.
Yes.
Oh my God, people would start crying, I think.
Well, they would, yeah.
They-
But I had a friend that used to do that, would tell people, do you have anxiety over starting a journal? I'll help you out. And he would scribble on the back page of their journal. And so
Yeah.
go there. It started now. You don't have to worry about what should I write in this.
Yeah, I often prefer a piece of paper that's bent because it's already broken.
See? You can't harm it anymore, Pierre. Yeah.
By drawing on it, I can't harm it. It's already broken. So, but anyway, it is amazing that these people that are very serious pen collectors feel that people like us are evil and or don't get it. But no, you don't get it at all. You know, someone that collects Harley Davidson motorcycles probably loves to turn it on and hear that noise. I can't imagine anyone that collects a classic car to never, ever, ever drive it and turn it on. And it just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, much like like anything else, you can't let it sit. Cars are not meant to sit. Pens are meant to be used.
Yeah, car. If you restore a classic car and then let it sit, it rots away, and most of it you'll have to rebuild yet again. And then the more you rebuild it, the less original it is.
You don't have to drive to the Kmart, but you don't have to let it sit. And coin collectors and stamp collectors, I can let them off the hook. They don't have to lick the back of that thing to
upside down Jenny and send it through the mail. Yeah.
And they don't have to do that, but I don't know why. I mean, those things are static. They don't move. They don't do anything. Whereas a watch or a car or a pen, jewelry, people that collect jewelry, are they diamonds and whatever? I think they probably like to wear them, but it's not the same. They're not a machine or a tool. I think tools of any sort are meant to be used and should be used. So.
Well, I mean, they didn't make them to sit. They didn't make all these pens to just sit on the shelves. They were for people that wanted to write journals or write invoices or work in the office. I mean, they were never meant to sit in a shelf and just be looked at.
Yeah. I mean, some things were meant, you didn't give the Fabergé egg to the Tsarevich to play with.
No, yeah.
No.
They were taken out of the box on Easter, and they might wind up the little train to watch the train go around the little track once, and then go back to put it back in the shelf in the case next to the other ones. So, but I bet that Fabergé egg, because it was built so well, it probably still works. You probably wouldn't fuck it up by giving it to the Tsarevich.
And letting him wind it up again. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So there was in my app that I like to do my drawings on my iPad, they give prompts every day that you can follow or not if you want. And one was draw something crunchy. And I don't know what people, but a dog eat bone. I don't know. And I drew what looked to be like a Russian early communist poster, and you saw this onion dome in the background and this big black leg coming down and this big black boot coming down, and underneath the boot on the ground was this Fabergé egg just being completely destroyed. And there I discovered from someone that there is an actual sexual fetish among gay men, though I don't know why it would have to be just them, that love to step on crunchy things. And stepping on CD crystals is like a big turn on for them.
Wow.
I think they're related to the balloon popper people that like that thing.
Okay.
Do
Okay.
you know of that one either?
No, but that would that go along with what is that the packing material popping?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just there's but I didn't know anything about this, and I went online, of course, and found a site about it, and it just showed guys wearing boots, construction boots, and they're stepping on and they're listening to the sound of these crunchy things crunching, and presumably they enjoy that, shall we say. And so I thought the Fabergé egg being the thing that was being crushed was sort of cute.
Well,
That
see now I would have thought about that drawing prompt, and I instantly would have thought about like 2-week-old underwear after camping.
That would have been quite the drawing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad I already ate my breakfast. I hope that by the time it's lunchtime, I hope I forget all about that little vision. Stompers. A fetish.
I'm sure that might have listed as a fetish as well, probably by someone, but
I mean, everything's a fetish for someone. It's
I
just
guess,
it's
yes.
everything. Drinking coffee, that's a fetish for someone.
Images. I think they're called stompers, the people that step on crunchy things. But
It's so hard to keep up with it.
yes,
I mean, I guess you could scroll and scroll and scroll on Reddit for all these things, you know?
and
I'm too old for that anymore.
it's
Yeah, same here.
also the people that are dressing up in mascot uniforms. That's a thing, a plushie.
The furries, oh yeah.
Or the plushies, and it's just we're an amazing species. We have this brain that's particularly large compared to other animals, and what used to be just part of procreation and making more of us to fill the planet, we now get to think about other things we can do with these bits and pieces of our body, and stomping on plastic bits makes you smile. That's pretty good.
Hey, no kink shaming here. Whatever you want to do makes you happy. Go for it.
Whatever floats your boat. Yeah.
And if it allows one fewer human beings to be born because of the seed being spent on something else, that's all the better. Unless
Yes.
it means another. I know that Frederick, you have a different view about children, but
Yeah.
but
I'm sorry.
W.C. Fields and I share the idea about children. But anyway, well, this is fun. What I'm going to do, Melissa, is I'm going to sit down and try to think of two other flourishes to go along with your sideways infinity symbol there, and
Okay.
see if I can find two others that would be sort of a different kind of exercise. And I think one is going to be sort of based on J. It'll start off like a J because you like doing that, and then it'll maybe turn into something else. So we'll have fun.
Sounds good to me.
I may.
Yeah, because you could play off the J and the Y with that
Yeah.
same flourish. Yeah.
They're really good exercises to just get your whole arm moving and your brain sort of turned off. And again, if you draw fast, the thick and thin automatically happens. You don't have to think about it. And you just have to figure out a way to make that automatically happen when you are thinking about it, which is not easy. It's the chewing gum and walking at the same time, or rubbing your belly and tapping your head at the same time. It does require practice.
I can do both of those things, so this is boding well for me.
Okay, good. Okay. Okay. Well, it was good talking to you this morning. And Frederick, I'll see you later as well. And whoever else is in the room, Joshua might still be here. I don't know. But we'll chat later.
Excellent. It was wonderful
Goodbye.
as always. Everyone take care, and we'll catch you later.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.